Hello, fellow classmates. My name is Lindsey Cote. Today I'm going to share with you and discuss what everyone should read, my favorite literary piece of this semester. So sit back and enjoy. Respecting the land. Before things became automatic, people had an intimacy with nature, and now this appreciation towards the environment seems to be diminishing as the decades and years pass. Thus, as humans, it is our responsibility to value and respect the land, and there is no better way to comprehend this more than getting first-hand experiences from Wendell Berry, a profound American novelist, environmental activist, cultural critic, and a farmer. Commitment to the land. The strong commitment that Wendell Berry has towards his land and the environment on a scrap of land in Henry County by Carol Polsgrove is quite remarkable. This expressive biography about Wendell Berry's values and responsibilities and beliefs show what it means to live in the presence of history. Carol's dedication and contribution to telling the history and life of Wendell illustrates the importance of grasping a hold of this literary piece. Wendell's emotions, profound expression, philosophies, and principles are without a doubt worth reading. And accountability. People need to understand escaping and or avoiding the truth of the damage that they have created will not make history any better. People need to stand in the here and now and take accountability towards protecting the environment and preserving natural resources for those future generations. And presenting this biography, I will discuss the many different key points that Wendell addresses in his interview with Carol, such as the question of the disappearance of small farms within the rural scene, in addition to the significance of food preparation, the importance of buying locally, and to researching the reasons why individuals give in to the industrial technology. On a scrap of land in Henry County, Lane's Landing Farm, near Port Royal, Kentucky, is the home of Wendell Berry, which he and his wife, Tanya, have called home for 25-plus years. Obligating and committing themselves to the land allows them to remain faithful towards their home. For Carol quotes Berry for saying this about his place: "Our life began to offer itself to us in a new way, in the terms of that place, and we could not escape it or satisfy it by any partial or temporary. We made up our minds to live there." This commitment Berry describes changes him as a writer. Carol then continues to write that Berry finds the land becoming more to him than just a subject or a piece of property. His land becomes a part of him and his family. A sense of obligation. Berry's obligation to the region led him to write profound explorations of the world around him, and he began to ask himself questions. In Carol's discussion with Berry, she quotes him for saying, "Why had so many small family farms disappear from the rural scene?" This ultimately leads Berry to write in 1977, The Unsettling of America, Culture and Agriculture. Again, in a sense of obligation, in seeking an explanation to Berry's question of the disappearance of small farms, I reached out to Jerry Apps. Explanation. Jerry Apps, a professor, writer, and rural history activist, describes in his PBS television documentary, A Farm Story, his humble reactions of living on a farm in Wild Rose, Wisconsin. In this documentary, Jerry explains that the end of small family farms starts to diminish after World War II. In this momentous time, with soldiers returning home from war, jobs for soldiers produced a technology boom. These soldiers brought electricity to farms, and soon everyone wanted their farm equipment motorized. Farmers wanted milking machines, elevators to lift hay up into the barn, motorized pumps, and tractors. With this technology growth, this was the end of small farms. Larger farms began to be the norms. Farmers brought out each other and guys were displaced. It was the end of the threshing crews as combines became available. Things moved faster than people were aware of, and technology was changing the way people live. Jerry says, in essence, people began disconnecting themselves with the land. Again, to Berry, his readily new commitments and obligations allowed him to begin researching and seeking out answers to his questions. Carol again mentions Berry's The Unsettling of America, Culture and Agriculture, and pulls out one of Berry's quotes. Why have we given ourselves up to the technology fantasy? In researching Berry's question, I discovered an article by Dr. William C. Motes, a researcher and reporter for the Global Harvest Initiative, GHI, a private sector voice for productivity growth in agriculture. Dr. Motes describes that modern industrial farming is impossible to ignore. Just as other sectors, modern industrial farming has become much more productive. For Dr. Motes writes, machines and computers have eliminated the most labor parts of the job, and farming communities have educated their children to choose, in many cases, other careers. And number of people who want to work on farms in the old labor-intensive way is very small. The once hand labor-intensive farm labor is on the decline. Therefore, modern-day agricultural farming is becoming much more productive, resulting in individuals giving in to the technology fantasy. Thus, looking at this graph indicates that over a vast amount of time, with the help of technology, crop production is on the rise. And as you can see, it has been on the rise from 1870 all the way to 2010. Convenience of the future. Berry continues to speak from the heart as Carol interviews him, for Berry states, the great convenience of the future as a context of behavior is that nobody knows anything about it. No rational person can see how using up the topsoil or the fossil fuels as quickly as possible can provide greater security for the future. But enough wealth and power can conjure up the audacity to say that it can. Then in sheer fantasy is given the force of truth. These words show that Berry is no timid postmodernist, for Berry speaks and stands for what he believes in. In food preparation, Berry also discusses with Carol the importance of this. One does not have to grow their own food anymore. With the modern-day conveniences of food at people's fingertips, one can pull up and order a meal, or go online to have it delivered. Somewhere in this chaos, we have lost our connection to food preparation and the pleasures of eating. Berry describes this lost connection as a degraded, poor, and flat little thing. Berry also says the roadsides are littered with trash because people are eating out more and fast food because nobody's giving the time to food preparation. Again, in food preparation, and reasoning all these possibilities of why individuals choose not to prepare their own food, I narrowed it down to just a few reasons. Celebrations, entertaining, can't cook, or just won't cook, and traveling. Although there are certainly many more reasons why individuals eat out, I feel from my own experiences these are some of the top reasons. In addition, the lost pleasure of preparing food results in that eating out is now more acceptable than it once was. Once seen as a luxury or treat, eating out is now seen as a perfectly acceptable event to do on any night of the week. Again, in food preparation, looking at this chart, it is clear to see that the restaurant industrial sales have drastically increased since 1970, and they will only continue to grow as the years pass. And as you can see, from 1970 to 2014, the restaurant industrial sales in billions of current dollars has drastically increased. Save the land and the knowledge that holds the land. Individuals need to understand the importance of buying locally. If individuals buy close to home and buy directly from farmers, this would help the decline of rural life. For Carol Polsgrove, from one of his works, we cannot save the land without saving the community that holds the knowledge of how we should care for the land. Importance of buying locally. Berry believes that if rural America is to be saved, it will have to be saved by those who live there. Save the land that holds the knowledge again. In researching the lost connection to the importance of buying locally, I came across a news article posted on Organic Authority by Laura Klein, a co-founder of Organic Authority, a LLC news media company. Laura, known for her appearances on the Food Network and for her publications in the Oprah magazine, writes that it was after World War I and II that pesticides and chemicals started to be heavily used on produce. This was supposed to be able to yield higher returns on crops because it keeps those harmful and pesky bugs away. This made traditional farming methods such as animal fertilization and crop rotation antiquated. Laura also states it led to mass farming practices that are practiced today amongst conventional farmers. This new way of farming allowed farmers to grow massive amounts of crops and ship them nationally. People could now get their produce cheaper from a farmer that was hundreds of thousands of miles away. Why I feel that you should read On a Scrap of Land in Henry County. In reading Carol's delightful and insightful biography about Wendell Berry, one will find humor, history, important environmental issues, and life-improving morals. That is why it is important that you read On a Scrap of Land in Henry County. This literary piece tells of a man who believes what he says, and he believes by what he truly believes. Again, why read On a Scrap of Land in Henry County? I will leave with you my favorite quote by Wendell Berry. If you live in the presence of your history, it's harder to be arrogant. Therefore, this literary piece, On a Scrap of Land in Henry County by Carol Polsgrove, allows individuals to see the significance of respecting and appreciating the land. This piece sparks the importance of building relationships, asking questions, and understanding growing practices. Individuals owe it to themselves to read this story. Thank you for listening to my media presentation for Literature and the Environment, IDS 326. And please do not forget to read On a Scrap of Land in Henry County by Carol Polsgrove. Take care, class, and have a wonderful day.